In an interview with Susan West, Jeff Aiken of Hatteras tells the story of how his family reconnected with the Ada Mae, a skipjack named after his grandmother.
Ada Mae was born in Swan Quarter
Okay.
and raised in Swan Quarter in Hyde County, across the Sound. Her father is George Washington Hodges, and he was a farmer
Wow.
an entrepreneur of sorts. He had a lumber mill, sawmill, and they had farm equipment. There were 11 children.
Was Ada Mae the oldest
Ada
daughter?
Mae was the next to the youngest, and it was her older brother Ralph Hodges who built the Ada Mae. And when he was building it, he didn't know what he was going to name it, but he was charged with watching little Ada Mae while he was over there tinkering around with that boat.
Uh-huh.
And so she was there with him almost daily while he was building it. And so it was only natural that he named it after her.
Did he build other boats?
He built another boat that I'm sure he built some unnamed boats, but he built a trawler named after my aunt, who is Mildred Hodges, and that was the name of the trawler. We believe she's on the bottom somewhere, but the Mildred Hodges, everybody in Hyde County was upset that he had named it after my aunt, who lived in Virginia at the time.
What was the story? How did your family reconnect with this boat?
Well, the Ada Mae was built in 1915 in Rose Bay, not too far from the lumber mill, sawmill. And of course, the whole village showed up to roll her over into the creek and launch her the day they launched her. And she oystered, or Granny would say arstered.
Uh-huh.
She arstered in the Pamlico Sound until such time that several years it arstered out. And then it was sold up into the Chesapeake. And so the family kind of lost touch with it. And from time to time it would kind of show back up, or they knew who had it here at this point. And then as things would have it over the years, it would change hands again. And at one point it was owned by the brewing company, National Bohemian.
Okay.
And some people in Maryland will probably remember the toucan type character that was their mascot. And we have a picture of him on the sail. It was on the sail of the boat at one time. Again, it fell by the wayside, ended up on a bank somewhere like so many skipjacks have. It was purchased or taken over by a philanthropist of sorts who made a valiant effort at rebuilding it and putting it back together, and only to once again fall into disrepair. Well, around about 1990, I think, the North Carolina Maritime Association, which was a historical significance type of group, that they went looking for it. And this is long after the family had lost it, because I went on several trips. My mom and dad and aunt and uncle, we'd get Granny in the back seat and we'd ride up to the eastern shore and look for her. Never found her. Well, these guys, lo and behold, found her. I think the guy that owned it, and it was in terrible shape, but it was floating still in the bay, and these guys got him to sell it to them for $1 or whatever for a donation.
Okay.
And they had to do some major work on the engine, and anyway, they finally got her to Little Washington, which is pretty close to home back then. And we had a great celebration while my grandmother was still alive, and we all went there. But the Marine Estuarine Center is there now. It's the North Carolina Estuarine Center. I don't have my words right, I'm sure, but they had printed T-shirts and everything, and done a big spiel on her, and everybody was just delighted at the whole thing. And Janet and I, after one of the Fish Barons balls in New Bern, we stopped in Little Washington to see Zena Mae, and she told us the history of working the boat with Ralph. Among other things that they did, besides oystering, they would haul watermelons up to Baltimore. And so I said, well, what do you mean, who hauled watermelons? She said, well, it was me and Ralph. And I said, really? Just the two of you would sail a load of watermelons up to Baltimore? She said, oh, yeah. Ralph knew every merchant, every farmer along the Pamlico Sound and Albemarle Sound, and we'd go there, and we would take off and sail up the bay. And I said, well, Zena Mae, I said, well, when did Ralph sleep? He said, oh, he'd say, Zena Mae, hold her to the northwest. I'm going to lay down for a little bit. She said, and I'd hold her, and we'd show up there, and her best friend to that day, she was 95 at that time, still called her every day, and it was the merchant's daughter up in Baltimore. Just the two of them, and off they went. She was just there with Ralph. She's a little tiny thing.
That celebration in Little Washington must have been incredible for your grandmother.
Oh, for my grandmother and for Zena Mae. Zena Mae brought this podium out that she had used in her Bible class that Ralph had made her. And she used that to give her presentation. And she's about 4'11". He talks with a real high voice. And it was a real treat. We still love it today. So the Ada Mae was rediscovered